guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Ajiventure SG. So let's do another very interesting word problem on whole numbers. Let's read the question first. Three boys had 144 sweets altogether. Ram gave some of his sweets to Ben and Ben's sweets were doubled. Then Ben gave some of his sweets to Ken and Ken's sweets were doubled. As a result, the three boys had an equal number of sweets each. How many sweets did Ben have at first? So what we have here is a very wordy question, okay, and we know that the three boys altogether have 144 sweets. Then it happened that Ram gave some of his sweets to Ben, and then because of the sweets he received from the Ram, his sweets doubled, right? And then Ben gave some of his sweets to Ken, and then his sweets doubled. So at the end, the three boys had equal number of sweets. So this first thing which I can immediately comprehend from this is that Ram had a lot more sweets than Ben, right? And Ben has more as compared to Ken, because even after receiving from Ken, right, who already have received from Ram, at the end Ben was having same number of sweets as the other two boys, right? So that will be our starting point too, right? We will be working backwards for this question. Okay, so we will start with our model showing that all the three of the boys have the same amount of sweets, right? So let's draw it. So let's say this model shows the number of sweets Ram is having. So let's say this is for Ram, sorry. So this is for Ram, and then the same amount we can show it for Ben. So let's say this is for Ben, and then obviously the same for Ken, because at the end all of them are having the same number of sweets, right? So this is for the Ken, right? So I'm planning to work it backwards. So since all of them are having the same amount of sweets at the end, I have drawn in my model, I have shown it as three equal bars, right? Now what do you think, what will be all this together? How much it will be all together? It will be 144. Okay, it will be 144. Reason is this, that whatever happens, it happens internally, right? This is the case of internal transfer, because it is Ram who gave to Ben and then the Ben gave to Ken, right? So they are not giving sweets out to anyone, like they're to their siblings or friends or anybody else, right? So we are in this question, we are talking about three boys, and the transaction or transfer of sweets is happening between three boys only. So this is a case of internal transfer. Okay, this is a case of internal transfer. So where the total amount at the start and at the end remains the same. Okay, so what do you think? Now we know that all the three boys have equal number of sweets at the end and their total is 144. How many sweets each of them we can find quickly, right? So sweets, each boy had at the end, it's pretty straightforward, right? It will be 144 divided by 3, because each of them are having equal number of sweets, right? And that will give me 144 divided by 4 will give me 48, right? 48, right? Now we know that Ken received 48. At the end, each of the boy was 48. That means Ram was 48, Ben was having 48, and Ken was also having 48 sweets. So we can show it here. So each of them at the end was having 48. But now Ken had 48 sweets after getting some of the sweets from Ben, right? He received some of the sweets from Ben, and remember, after the receiving the sweets from Ben, Ken's sweets were doubled. Okay, this is an important line. After receiving sweets from Ben, Ken's sweets had doubled, right? So that means before receiving the sweets from Ben, he had only half of this amount. He had only half of this amount. That means this amount we can divide it into two parts, right? And how much it will be, how much will be each part? It's pretty straightforward, right? So Ken, rather we can write sweets Ken had at first. How many sweets do you think he had at first? He must be having 48 divided by 2, right? Why? Because after receiving the sweets from Ben, his amount doubled, right? That means half of the amount he received from the Ben, right? So 48 divided by 2 will give us 24. That means half of 48 is 24. That means this 24 he got from Ben, right? So since we are working backward, let's push it back here, right? Let's push this amount back here. So let's remove this 24 from here and add in this 24 here, right? So the sweets, what do you think? How many sweets Ben was having before he has given any sweets to Ken, right? So the sweets, number of sweets Ben had before giving to whom? Giving to Ken, right? So that means he must be having this extra 24, right? So 48 plus 24, right? And that will give me 72, right? 72. That means before giving his sweets to Ken, Ben had 72 sweets, right? Now this thing we know, okay, sorry. So we know that this thing was this total was 72, right? Now we also know that Ben also received sweets from Ram, right? Ben also received sweets from Ram, right? So and his sweets were also doubled after receiving the sweets from Ram, right? And now we know that this thing, right, this whole thing is 72. That means half of it he had received from Ram, right? So if we just divide the whole thing by 48 plus 24, which is 72, by 2, right, that amount he received from Ram, right? So we can get it quickly. So sweets Ben had at first, because we are going to subtract half of the sweets which he has received from Ram, right? So that will give us how much he had before, right? So that will give us 36, right? So basically if we want to see it by on the model, right, I can show it, right? So let's say so basically before getting any sweets from Ram, he was 72 sweets, right? And we know that after receiving the sweets from Ram, he became doubled, right? He became doubled. The number of sweets Ben was having has doubled. That means half of the sweets, half of this he had received from Ram, right? So this should go back to Ram, right? So this was not there, right? So how much he was having at first? Obviously only 36, right? We can remove this one also, right? So at first he was having only 36 sweets. So that's our answer. So let's write our final answer quickly. uh, ben had 36 sweets at first. Okay, so that's the solution of this question. Hope you liked it. Keep watching and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you.